Lately, we've had ableism on the mind. And I can say this because we've had two well known singers come out, use some ableist language in songs. Thankfully, both artists have listened to the disability communities. They have gone back, rewritten their songs, taken words out that were actually, it was one specific word that wasn't wasn't cool. It wasn't nice to use. The word in question is spaz. Spaz comes from spasmodic, or meaning just a spasm. If I could explain to you how painful, how life altering some spasms are, and some people have spasms all day. It does not ease up. I'm recently having a very severe nerve problem with my legs. It's like inside is a rubber band that's being pulled so taut that it grabs all of the muscle, the nerve endings, and just goes too crazy. If I try to walk when my legs are doing that, I could fall. It's that serious. I could seriously hurt myself. For those of us that don't have control over our bodies, yes, words like this are very hurtful. But I really need to say that there's a right way to address this, and there's a wrong way. Right now, if you were to go to Twitter, for example, go to Lizzo's page, where people are pointing out that, hey, you use this word. But then there are some people who are going beyond saying, hey, you use this word, we don't like it. One person actually just said, do better. You speak for, what, the whole country? That's too much. Back off. Not many people are aware yet of ableism. Ableism is using a healthy body to figure what should be able to be done, what is what we are able to do. Everybody has this false inference of living in their own bodies and thinking that my experience is going to be the same for you, for you, for you, for you, for you. And it's not. We do need to take some time and listen to each other. Don't jump on people. Some people are learning for the first time. This is not a great word. I grew up, I went to school, began in 1984 or 5 or something like that. I was 4 years old. In my generation, we used, hey, don't be a spaz. And it was common. It was a common word used. But it meant don't be crazy, which is another ableist word. Usually if people were saying, you're such a spaz, it meant that we didn't know how to handle your energy, your bounciness, it's just we're uncomfortable with you. And so we are going to use a word that describes disability, and we're going to use it as an insult. So there is this one really brilliant, makes you think question. Well, how are we going to insult people now if you're going to take all these words from us? Maybe we should back up on the insults. Like, my word that I need to work on is idiot. I will call Trump, all his followers, I will call them idiots. Like that. And I don't quite realize until I started reading more and more about ableism, because it's something that hits me and my community a lot. So please just be a little more aware of what you're going to say to somebody. And if you're going to use a term that usually describes disability or people with disabilities, try not to use that as the insult, please. There are actually some really great web pages, blogs, etc. about this very subject. And because Beyonce and Lizzo both came out with songs in the past couple of months that had this word, well, it's saying time for a conversation. Time to stop using these words. And so, like, some other examples, just turn a blind eye to that. Not everyone who's blind doesn't see anything. Sometimes, if you are legally blind, you actually still do see shadows, shapes, lots of things. It's different for everyone, and therefore, this calls for some conversation. Like, when we say, oh, the economy was crippled by debt. Why do we have to say crippled? Cripple is a terrible word. You'd have to be insane to fill in the blank. Crazy, insanity. These are things people have to deal with and try to get through their days when their minds don't work right. Any neurodegenerative, any person with a neurodegenerative condition will tell you these words are extremely harsh. And because you don't feel it the way I feel it, doesn't make it right to use. But please don't be offended by us coming and asking for people to use different words, to think about where the word comes from. And if you don't know, look it up. Is this a word that describes disability? Then don't use it. Not as an insult. When you're saying somebody is so dumb, okay, are you talking about can't speak? Are you talking about intelligence? What are you talking about? Get more specific. Learn some words. I mean, yes, English is a horrible language. It's the hardest to learn once you have another language in your head. It's not the greatest to describe exactly what's going on inside our heads. We don't have the tools that other languages have. But we can still ask. And we can still infer. So If you would like to see some more conversation about this, please go to disabilityandrepresentation.com. There is a blog that is called Ableist Language, um, doing social justice, thoughts on ableist language and why it matters. That's the whole title of this blog. It was written September 14th, 2013. So this should give you an idea. These words and the harm of these words have been around much longer than anyone thinks they have been. But yes, neurodegenerative conditions have been becoming more and more common. So we're going to end up with more and more people who can't control their nerves, who have spasms. I get them in my arms, I get them in my legs, I get them in my back, I get them in my face. I've had Bell's palsy where a whole side just drags down. You think we want to be characterized by what you can see? No, nobody wants that. There is also another really great website. I will have to put up a link for it though. It's incredible. It lists, it's like, so for people who are going, well, where is the list of words that is now uncool to use? There are lists. Yes, they're out there. Please search for them. And for those that say, are we getting too crazy? Are we policing language? No. We're just asking people to think about the etymology of words and to not use a disability as an insult. If you were the one on the receiving end, you wouldn't like it either, I promise you. And I don't want you to be on the receiving end. So let's all of us, do better. And I say that with respect and love. And like I said, I have to work on the term idiot. It's one that likes to boom out, especially when I'm thinking of people who don't like to think of others. But there is a way to communicate with that person without putting them down. There is a way to communicate all of our wants, needs, everything, without taking another person's condition or many things. There's so many things that we need to learn about. You know, by now, the N-word should have been gone from every white person's vocabulary. But it's not. The R-word should be gone from everyone's vocabulary. But it's not. These are words that were used to infer that you are less valuable to society, to me. So please, think about it. Then open your mouth. Namaste. So I wanted to delve just a little bit deeper into a couple of the things that I said about ableism, about how we should think about using our words. It's not an alcohol, right? Hang on. I slid far. Alright. Now I have an alcohol wipe. Alright. So I showed the little video blog to the caregiver, and she really liked what I had to say, what the message was. And the very next time her mouth opened to say, I believe that the context was in talking about the universe. We were talking about, funny enough, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass in motion. Don't ask me how the c squared equals in motion. I really don't know. I had a public school and community college science lesson. But so when we're thinking about what is energy, and that it is mass or matter, cells, in motion, the caregiver went to say, well, the universe is always and she stopped herself from saying crazy. And I said right away, like, okay, that's not what I wanted to say. I specifically kept on coming back to, are we using these words as an insult? And that's really what we're asking you to think about. When we contact singers, very, very well-known singers, and ask them to think about their words, because they are artistic representation of society. Now, I still absolutely do not think that anybody should approach anybody else rudely. I'm not here for saying let's get rid of the rude by being even more rude. It's different in the context of a song, and if you want to make that a popular song, there is a responsibility to, once you know the complaint, to address it appropriately. So that's all I'm saying. Ableism words, it's very tough. It's new ground still, even though people have been talking about this for decades. It started with really the R word, and I'm going to really try to transfer and say the S word instead of saying what I did before. But I do believe, you show people what the word is when you are giving the context. But when we're just in conversation, that's when, oh my God, don't use that word. That goes too far. The universe is crazy. The universe is... Oh wow, how to describe that? The universe is hectic, is fast-paced, is always in motion. We are always using energy. There are always cells inside of our body that are in motion. And it's like when I went back to the first video I did about ableism, and I described symptoms as being crazy in the fast pace, the overwhelming feel that comes on with a spasm that won't stop. It thankfully I haven't gotten this in a really long time, but I used to have something going on with my nerves that would make my fingers curl in, and then my wrists curl in, and like I couldn't stop it. It kept on. And how do you describe that? How do you describe something that you're only feeling maybe for the first time, the first couple of times? And so don't shy away from words like crazy. If you are feeling crazy, that's legitimate. You're talking about yourself. So that's the difference. Nobody is trying to limit anybody's expression, because there are always other words. And if there aren't English words, there are other languages that, in my opinion, do a much better job in describing things. I have a hard time really getting to describe to people who have never felt the pain that I feel. It is incredibly hard to put that into words. And when we come up with an explanation, or we hear somebody else use something and it's like, oh, that's it. That describes. It's an incredible feeling. You finally know you're not alone. That's the entire point. We're not alone. We are a society. We are a worldwide society. All I'm asking for? A bit more kindness, a bit more compassion, a bit more common sense.